Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends. Thanks as always for tuning in. This is your host, Erin Bradley. And if it's your first time here, perfect timing because nothing is random. And you were like divinely led here to meet Jennifer Liss, who I'm so grateful is taking time out of her busy schedule to join us on the show because you guys, I'm so excited. She is the host of the podcast, Fuck Around and Get Paid. That's right. We started this show with an F bomb, and we may hear it again as we talk about how much fun she is having creating a podcast for entrepreneurs who are done hustling and ready to make money the fun way. And we were talking about before we started recording about how it's so funny how the more fun you have, the more opportunities seem to find you, or the more fun you have, the more money you make. And so sometimes people hear that as a strategy and then they're like, no, really, but tell me what to do. And the good thing is that Jennifer also runs an organization teaching marketing strategies that create magnetism in your business through energy and authenticity. So if you have been a long time listener of the Pursuing Freedom podcast, you know why I was like begging Jen to come and be on the show here. So with no further ado, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's so exciting to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, so bring us up to speed. Like, I know there's a backstory, there always is, and usually it shows up in forms of resilience and perseverance. And I know it was the same for you. So, can you give us a little bit about the backstory that's led you to the excitement that you're bringing into the marketplace today?
Well, the name of my podcast pretty much describes it, that most of my life I was trying to get paid so that I could fuck around. And I have discovered through my journey that it actually goes the other way around. You've
Mm-hmm.
got to have fun in order to get paid in all the ways, because there's financial pay, and then there's joy pay, and there's ease pay, and there's a calm nervous system pay. But for most of my life, I hustled and was continuously trying to prove my way to success. So I straight out of high school, I went to college until my scholarships ran out. But after that, I did what I wanted to do, which was to go to hair school. I went to hair school and I built a hairstyling business and I loved it. And it was so awesome. But I was working, Erin, over 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day. Our friends joked that my husband didn't actually have a wife. They were like, "Oh, are you going to bring your cardboard cutout wife, or like, are you going to rent Jen for the weekend?" They would be like, she doesn't exist. So I was always working, and I was making really, really, really good money, but I was working so, so much. And I woke up one day and just realized how absolutely, completely frazzled, burnt out I was. I didn't want to do that job anymore. I didn't even want to see my next client, somebody who I loved. I was like, I cannot do one more head of hair. And ultimately, I ended up leaving that career, and I went and I got a job in marketing. I went and finished my degree and I got a job in marketing, and it was really fun and I was having a great time. And then the familiar feelings of working all the time, continuously up until midnight, working on scripts, writing. I mean, I was doing really cool things, but it was just working myself to the bone. And I was like, 2 times is a pattern. I don't need to get to a third time to realize that something's wrong here. And that sent me on a journey, which ultimately led me to a coach. So I'm working with this coach. Since you're a coach, people who listen probably know what coaching is. At the time, I didn't know what the F that was. I had found this lady who had a podcast. I was like, she has a podcast that is called Don't Keep Your Day Job. And I was like, that's me. I don't want to keep my day job. I'm unhappy. I'm burnt out. I'm stressing. I have no idea what to do. Nobody can help me figure out this career thing. I built a business that sucked. Now I went into the corporate world. That sucks too. What the hell am I supposed to do with myself? And she gave me what I thought at the time was the worst $3,000 advice I had ever received, which was, you know what you need to do tomorrow is to show up at your job, this one that you hate, and ask yourself what sounds fun. And I looked at her like, nothing sounds fun. Nothing sounds fun. Did you not hear anything that I said about this job that I'm in and how much I hate it and how much I'm burnt out at it and that I don't want to do it anymore? She's like, yes. And go show up to it. I'm like, fine, I paid you $3,000. So I suppose I will do the thing that you said to do. And so I show up in a huff. I'm in my black blazer, walking into this black building that's black on the outside, beige on the inside. I sit down at my cubicle that I hate. Anybody who's worked a corporate job, The
Yeah.
like walk of dread to your desk.
Yeah.
And I sit down and I say, well, what sounds fun? Well, definitely not the lady beside me who's clipping her fingernails really loudly, like she does every Tuesday. And
No.
definitely not this job that I'm working right now, naming a plastic polypropylene product, polypropylene 16, 12, whatever. I was like, none of this is fun. I don't, okay, worst $3,000 I ever spent. But then as I'm like asking, okay, what sounds fun? I turn around and over my shoulder, I look at my boss and I'm like, Chad, what are you working on? And he's like, oh my God, it's this terrible project. Let me tell you all about it. He tells me about this terrible project. And I was like, that sounds fun. So I start working on this project. Eventually, he said, please give me that polypropylene project. That sounds fun to me. I take on this project. It's employee development. I start hosting employee development classes for the organization, something I've never done before. I get into this whole self-development world, which ultimately has led me down my path of fucking around and getting paid and having fun. I've dropped 3 F-bombs so far.
Well,
That
here's what
for
I
the
love
laughs.
about it. We talk a lot in the real estate industry about, well, at least if anyone's in proximity to me, about what I refer to as curating vacation energy, because there is this curse and this blessing that has led to this mantra. If you need your business to grow, book a vacation, because every time a real estate agent or mortgage lender tries to take a vacation and for like one day or one week, they try to not think about work, that's when the phone rings. But when we're living in this analytical brain that's focused on the void we're trying to fill, which is that pipeline or that bank account or the bills we have to pay, and we've been given this action plan, and the action plan feels separate from what we would say is like F around and get paid and have some fun, we're like, oh, so we just like kind of like turn off the vacation energy, which is the version of us that we are when we're being unfiltered, in love with our friends, in love with our loved ones, and celebrating the good things with people we care about when we're not thinking about work, or when we're mourning the loss together, or we're feeling the pain that our loved ones are going through. That is who we are. That is our soul. That is bare and unfiltered. And we suffocate this light within us with the action plan we're supposed to do. What am I supposed to, what should I do? What do I have to do? What do I need to do today? And so I always tell people, go back to that vacation energy. Like, instead of putting the work hat on and having it like smudge out the light within you, what if you could just keep the work hat on the shelf? Like, what if you could have no agenda here, need nothing? How would you show up with the people you care about? And how would you be of value to them? And it's like, that's it in a nutshell, is like F around to get paid, right? I'm curious for you to share, like, how did you get to this process, like to a place of clarity? And then how do you help individuals, which is the majority of society, that have been conditioned for so long to measure their worth in quote unquote productivity, which is the opposite of F around and get paid. It's more like what I'm supposed to do, what I have to do, the heaviness of it, right? Like, how do we get them to rewire the programming to lighten up, to have some fun, and to let that energy come back and let that light on so that you start to magnetize the opportunities that are a match for your light?
Yeah, everything that you've said here is absolutely true. And I'm so on board with all of it. One of the things that I teach to students and those who I coach is that joy is your strategy. It's absolutely your strategy, your joy, your light, following your fun. But it's a twofold problem because we've been taught that that's not the way, that it really is work all your life and then you're going to get the retirement, work all your life, and then you're going to get the vacation. So, what you're saying about putting vacation energy in the now is not what we've been taught. And therefore, it does not feel safe to your nervous system. It doesn't feel safe in your body to be having fun. And I know this sounds absolutely bonkers wild, but what I have found in coaching at this point, thousands of women, I've had conversations, deep, intimate conversation with so many human beings. And we do not trust our joy. We do not trust our fun. And that happens really young because a lot of times when we're a kid, and we can almost all come up with this scenario. I'll tell my version of it. And I promise that every single person probably has some version of it where you were having so much fun and being so playful and just having a blast that could have been riding your bike. It could be anything. For me, I was playing the piano. I had just learned for Elise and I was so proud of it. And I was having so much fun learning how to play the piano. I was preparing for my recital and I was really excited. My grandmother had a baby grand piano that she had just got. So I go over to her house for Thanksgiving and I'm like, I get to play this song on the baby grand piano. And I was so excited about it. I sit down and I start playing. And my uncle comes out and he says, "We're watching the football game. Would you shut that crap up?"
Oof.
I was so excited and I had achieved something. Not only that, it was my joy attached to something that was feeling really like I had worked at this. And so a joyful moment that was also attached to something that I had been consistently working toward now has an imprint in my nervous system as bad. I didn't know how to process that. And most of us don't because we just don't have a lot of it. And at a young age, we don't have the emotional processing for that. And if we don't have space held for us, most of our parents also didn't know how to hold space for that kind of level of emotional processing. And so it marked in my nervous system as work hard at something that you're loving bad. And a lot of people have this. And so then we don't follow joy as our strategy. We actually follow hard work because we've been taught that that's the way. And then something in our life has taught us that the joyful way is the wrong way, or that it's bad, or that we're going to get punished and we're doing something wrong. And so what I do and what I think is so important is reteaching our nervous systems, reteaching our body, our emotionality, our full body energy that it's okay to feel joy, that it's okay to work at something that for the fun of it, which is actually how we tap into our creativity, is by doing it simply for the fun of it. But when we can't do it for the fun of it, when there's a marker in our nervous system that says unsafe, we will avoid all of those things.
Totally. I mean, I've seen this happen time and again inside my community where I'll meet someone that has been in their business, has achieved mastery, external success, and they've lost their mojo. They've lost the joy of it. They know how to do it with their eyes closed. Maybe the last couple years in the market has shifted their business in some capacity. Maybe they've had a decline in their revenue, and they there's this tape on repeat saying like, I know what I need to do. I know what I need. I just need to. And I always try to stop them in their tracks and say, does that feel like fun? Does
Mm.
that feel like something you're running towards? Or does that feel like something you're running from? Which is like, I'm looking at this problem I have to solve, and I better go do these things to solve this problem, which is kind of like backwards energy anyway, versus like, this could be interesting, this could be fun. And when we start to do that shift, it's incredible how quickly I see people, you know it because you do the coaching too, is like you can see a shift physically in their nervous system and an energy returns to their body and to their soul. They're like excited again. And then within a few weeks, they're telling you all these crazy things that seem to be happening in their business and these pops in volume and pops in revenue and out of the blue. And I'm like, well, not so out of the blue. So I know how it works, but I don't teach it the way that you do. And I think the way you do, because I've been a student of yours and I've had the opportunity to receive your coaching. And I wish that's why I'm having you on the show, because I wish I could articulate it the way you do so beautifully. So how do you teach humans to rewire that nervous system and that deeply embedded outdated programming that's got them behaving with these outdated patterns of thoughts and behavior?
Well, it really starts with recognizing that this is a thing. That's where it starts. And
Yeah.
so because you've been in the coaching container with me, you've kind of understood or started to understand that this is a thing. You also teach it too. So you know that the other main thing that I do with people, especially early on, is reflect back light. So when somebody lights up about something, showing that to them and saying, "Oh my gosh, did you feel your energy shift?" Because we don't notice it. In fact, we will naturally, because of your nervous system protecting you, we will downplay the light because the light
Mm.
doesn't feel safe, because your joy doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel safe to go in that direction. It can feel very, the name of my podcast I've had for 5 years prior to this one was Untethered. Can feel untethered in a like very scary way to follow your joy sometimes, because we will tend to lean into these low, slow energies of overwhelm, resistance, worry, fear. All of those are low, slow energies that slow you down. your nervous system, your mind, your body will move you into slow energies in order to actually keep you from going into the accelerated energy that is ultimately following your joy, following love. Anything that is for you is a much faster, quicker energy. And that can feel very scary. It can feel really untethered. So we will not recognize, not you consciously saying, I'm not recognizing my joy, but your subconscious is like, we're not going to look at that light. We're not going to notice the fun thing. We're not going to notice how enjoyable that would be for you. So, putting yourself in environments where your light is reflected back to you, putting yourself around people like you, Erin, listening to podcasts like this, where you're seeing other people's light reflecting back at you, working with coaches who can reflect light back to you. It's what good coaches do, whether they know they're doing it or not. But you can energetically see a person light up. Like I saw
Yeah.
you light up. The second you start talking about this stuff, it's like, whoa, like turns
Yes.
straight on because you love this. This is it's part of your soul's calling, which is follow your joy and your soul's calling are connected. So if you can't follow your joy, if you can't feel joy, then no wonder you can't find your purpose, because
Mm.
those two things go hand in hand. So if happiness feels unsafe, if following that path feels unsafe, then you're always going to feel purposeless because your
Yeah.
purpose is actually your
So
joy.
I do want to acknowledge that I get the chill. I've had the chills multiple times in this short conversation when you shared the piano story because it just resonated so much. And we were just having this conversation this morning where we were talking about how, as young people, we experience these moments of feeling uncertainty or unsafe. And it could just be emotionally, like feeling criticized, feeling left out, feeling embarrassed. And feeling like we're too much, being told we're too much or not, we're not enough. And so we start to embed these, the nervous system, the fear to protect us shows up, and we just start to kind of, it gets embedded deeply within us. And we're still operating from that lens, right? Of trying not to be too much, I'm not good enough, like whatever the story is that we have. And what's interesting is that when we reflect back that light, what you're talking about, it's this realization that when you feel that good, like when you feel so fully engaged with life, when you are not analyzing what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing, and if it's right or if it's wrong, and if it's enough or if it's too much, like when you're just in flow, you're just being your authentic self, it's like a high, right? You just are, you're unfiltered, your light is radiant and bold, and it's just like you're calling in from that light. But like, how do you trust it? Like, I know that for me, interesting that your podcast was called Untethered before, because I started a process of what I refer to as unbecoming about 5 years ago, probably in 2020. Unbecoming stressed, unbecoming rushed, overconnected, overcommitted, overwhelmed. And I started that on the heels of reading Michael Singer's The Untethered Soul. And it became a study of mine, a process of unlearning in order to emerge and to become this version of me that hopefully can bring light to others. But prior to that, I had spent many years, if not decades, just powering through, muscling through. And so to slow down is not my default tendency, but it's like once you know it, you can't unknow it. And even this morning, like the default Monday morning energy is hurry up, get up, hurry up, because that's what we've been programmed to do since preschool. Get up and hurry up on Monday morning, right? And so in my work of my own morning routine practice, I ask, what do I need to be today? Who do I need to be? How do I need to, where do you want to lead me today, right? And the message I got was relax and have some fun today. This is so fun. Like, what a fun, full day of calls and conversations ahead of you. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the fullness of my day, I get to be so excited and curious to say, how much fun can we have today? How much impact can we have? When you bring two flames together, you start a wildfire that can create that expansion. But when when you haven't had that practice, maybe what are some of the ways that you've retrained yourself to feel safe and trust your joy versus feeling like, oh, this is a waste of time. I just need to get to work, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things here. So you mentioned that it was probably in preschool where you gained that here's what I want people to understand is that your default mechanism, your actual default mechanism of as your soul came into being, the flash of light that happened when Erin came into being, there was no stamp on your soul that said, Erin has to work her ass off. Like that was not stamped into who you are. You gained it, that part of you, depending, I mean, I'm not sure how old you are, but like it's been there for decades, but it wasn't there at the flash of light. It was not
Mm.
there when you came into being. That is a perspective that you have taken on that you actually have to continuously reinforce so that it can stay alive. You're keeping that perspective alive, and that perspective needs you to keep it alive or it will die. So you've got a little egoic part of you that's like, I have to keep working hard. And when you don't work hard, it's going to come swing in and it's going to make you work hard again so that you can keep it alive. So that's one thing. That's one thing. And I know that can go kind of deep, but we all have these. We have all of these little parts of us that are 30 years old, that are 35 years old, that might be 40
Mm.
years old, that might be yesterday old. It's a little perspective that you've taken on, but that's not who you are. That's not who
Mm.
you are at your core. At your core, you are light, you are love, you are joy, you are infinite possibility. That's what you are. And I think the biggest thing, the biggest shift that has happened for me, and also my husband very recently struggled with alcohol dependence, and he has broken free of it through this belief, through really understanding this and really feeling this and really knowing this about ourselves, that you are joy personified. You are love personified. You are energy itself. And all of the behaviors and all of the things and all of the striving and all of the trying is not actually what you are. It's not who you are. It's a lens and it's a perspective that you have taken on. So without that knowing and without that belief, we are lost puppy dogs as human beings. We are
Mm.
freaking lost. And I remember even telling the person who I had bought that $3,000 coaching program from years ago, I remember telling the person who I was buying it from, it was somebody working for her. I said, I feel like a lost puppy. I don't know who I am. I don't know I have no idea. I'm so lost. And it was actually that understanding of what I actually am. So I know this sounds a little bit esoteric, but that's why spirituality has saved humans for so many years. I mean, it is the thing. It's like without that core belief, like, yes, you can live a good life and you can live a pretty fulfilling life. But if you want to live an exuberant, ecstatic life, if you want to live a life that feels like vacation every single day, you will look at almost all of the people who have lived those kinds of lives have some kind of spiritual belief. At their core, they know that there is something greater than the them. I'm pointing to my head for anybody who's just listening, the them that we think that we are. The emotionality and the body and the mind, that's not what you are. You're something else. And so when we have experiences that back that up, that's where the trust begins. It is hard in the beginning. In the beginning, you just have to do some weird things and just be like, I'm just going to try it. I'm serious. Like you just have to do some weird things. And then eventually you get the experience that's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, it just happened. For me, I was following the fun and then I end up getting a new job, Erin, that was double my pay. One day I'm getting paid $60,000. The next day I asked for $129,000. They said, how about 135? Like, and I was like, what? And I thought that me asking for that amount was insane. They gave me more. And that was as a result of that question that I had asked, which was, what sounds fun today? Because what sounds fun today, the answer to that is not coming from your brain. It's coming from
Mm.
your heart. It's coming from your soul. It's coming from that part of you that knows what you really came here to do, just to have a freaking blast, most of us.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I feel like you and I can have this conversation and be receiving this message with such clarity and depth of certainty because we've been on this journey and this practice for so long. And what are some of the actual like weird things? What are some of the practices that you started with, and how has your process evolved over the process of unbecoming to evolve and to emerge and to become, right? Like, which is a series of our lives. It's like it's a series of death and rebirth, of outdated identities and shedding that who we were to create space for who we are called to become, which is the truth of our full potential, which is so much more than any of us could ever comprehend because our brains are so loud and so powerful. So like what are some of the practices that you've used or that you teach your students to help them begin this journey of rewiring that outdated programming?
Yeah, thank you for taking this back down to the practical. That comes back to this story of what would genuinely be fun today? I want you to ask yourself that question every single day. What would delight me? What sounds fun today? What would feel magical? Align yourself to that every single morning and watch what happens. Curiosity is a doorway. And as
Love that.
human beings, and especially in this light, in this the society that we live in right now, and just the divisiveness, it's so obvious. People love to be right and people love to know. But knowing is not your best friend. Knowing is actually, I would dare declare that it's actually the enemy of your joy. Curiosity will always lead you to your own magic, because that curiosity, it's love. Curiosity is love. It is a loving energy. It's a loving vibration. It's a high vibration, the vibration of curiosity. So it's one of those fast vibrations. So when you tap into curiosity, what would be fun today? How could I, if you're working on a project and it's not fun, if you're needing to call back some people and you're like, I really don't want to have to call all these people today. I don't really want to have to find clients. Like, if you're in that energy, say, well, if I have to do it anyway, how can I make it more enjoyable for me? How could I have a good time while doing it? And you will resist that question. Some of you might already feel yourself resisting that question. And
Mhm.
believe me, I understand the resistance that will happen to that question. Your whole body is like, absolutely not. But remember that this is actually your mind and your body, your full nervous system. Everything in you is pulling you into low, slow energy to keep you safe, because a familiar hell is better for your nervous system than anything that is possible on the other side of you following your curiosity. Like, that's scary, that's new, that's growth. Your nervous system's job is not for you to succeed or for you to have fun. Your nervous system's job is to keep you safe. So it'll be pulling you back all the time. So the doorway, genuinely, I will give that very simple practice of be more curious. Allow yourself to be more curious and ask yourself what sounds fun.
I love that. So it's so funny because I was exploring a partnership with a mortgage company, and there was a moment when I realized that we were probably not going to be moving forward into a partnership because someone said to me, they don't need any of this mindset stuff. They just need to be told what to do and then make them feel like shit if they don't do it. And I was like, okay. Or there's no shortage of action and strategy out there, and yet very few people are executing with consistency. Why is that? And I think there is a bottleneck between knowing what to do and having the enthusiasm to do it, because we haven't asked the question, how could it be fun? I mean, it is such a powerful question. I think it is truly the kind of question that can bridge the gap between the million strategies and playbooks that are out there and your connection to the doing of the activity, because there is no joy in it, which is why you don't feel like doing it. And there's a way to create an approach to it that can be joyful again. And it is actually, like you said, the doorway that opens us up to this unforeseen possibility of expansion beyond, like beyond the limited mind. But I do want to take it one step further, because I also know that you teach a lot of practical strategy that is sort of the applicable. So like, as you're teaching these sales trainings and these marketing courses, what can you give us a little sneak peek behind the content of your teaching around, like, how does that show up practically in your marketing, and what the consumer gets to see? Because I mean, if anybody, I'm assuming everyone listening is going to go follow Jennifer Liss and check out her podcast and check her out on everywhere she is, and she can share at the end of the conversation where you can do that. But when you do, you're going to see exactly what she's talking about, because it's like your energy, Jen, is like, it literally like jumps out of the page. Like, as soon as I'm scrolling and it comes to you, I'm like, oh my God, I love it. You just like, you are a magnet, you're a force. And but there's strategy behind that, and there's execution because you're showing up. So there's consistency there as well. So is there anything that you can share from like the practical application of like, all right, everybody, we're all going to lighten up. We're all going to have some fun. We're all going to F around and get paid a lot. It's going to be really, really fun. And then somebody's thinking, but what do I do after I sit in that bliss in the morning? Like, how do I show up in the world? How do I apply it?
Yeah, it's such a good it's such a good question because that's the thing. And I'm really passionate about this because what you said about consistency, I just want to hit on that and then we'll move into this. So consistency is really easy when you're following your enthusiasm. It's so easy. Like as a kid, you could get lost all day, playing kinetic sand. My niece wakes me up when I go stay at their house at 6 a.m. She's like knocking on my door and like pulling it open and peeking in. Will you come play kinetic sand? And she could play that all day long and be lost in it. And you could be the same with your work too. But if you're not having a good time, and most people are not, then it's not going to be fun. And if you have trouble following your fun, give me a call because that's like what I specifically help people to do is like find the fun again, which can be deep inner work. I'm a breath worker. I'm a somatic coach. I've got a process that helps you to shift your vibration. So that's deep work, which we're not going to get into right here because it's both. It's both energetics. And the energetics is like the blocked joy. That's the energetics of things, not being safe to feel in those high frequencies and mostly spending your time in the low frequencies. So that's the energetics of things. And it's also tactical strategy, like doing the things. So I'll teach my little framework that I like to tell people. I like to tell people this is how you can be your best CMO, like your best chief marketing officer it's also kind of how you can be your best CEO. It's like both this because as small business owners, we are both the CEO and the CMO and
Yeah.
the CFO and all of the things, right? But clarity is number one. And most people feel like they're unclear. Like I'm unclear. I don't know what to do. So clarity comes one from following your joy. So if you got a little block in the energy there, we've talked about that. But clarity also comes from taking action. And what we forget is that taking action, this is the block. And this is tactical. I'm going to tell you, it might not sound tactical, but it really is when you go to do something, a lot of times we do it for what's going to happen afterward. And we think about others, especially as heart-driven, soul-led entrepreneurs. And what you teach, Erin, of helping people guide them to be, I think you said the go-givers, to be the go-givers, we can really think about other people. But that can really stop you from your own clarity because you don't think about after I took that action, how did I feel?
Mm.
How did I feel after I did that thing? After I sent that DM to somebody, how did that feel to me? After I sent out that, how do I feel? How do I feel in the process of taking this action? So this is a tactical thing. I want you to start, anybody who's listening, if this isn't something that you're doing, after you do a thing, give credence, of course, to the other person and their experience, but what was that like for me? Ask yourself this question. This is another curiosity doorway. How did that feel for me? How might I like to feel differently? What might have felt more enjoyable to me? That question will guide you to your own personal clarity, which will be your own personal joy loop. So C is for clarity. M is for magnetism. And magnetism is something I was telling you before we started this recording 5 years ago. Nobody would have been like, Jen is so magnetic. I was like, please don't call on me. I do not want to be like the center of attention. I would never have had a podcast. I would never been talking this much. That would absolutely not have been me. But magnetism comes from you being you, like radically you, the weird side of you. Let yourself be seen doing that weird little thing that you do just like when nobody else is watching. And I know that's so hard for most of us to do, but it's like if you sometimes sing, like somebody says something and you sing the lyric that it reminds you of, start doing it in front of people that aren't just your husband or not just your best friend. Do it in front of other people and watch the reaction that starts to happen when you let that little thing out that sometimes you're blocking, because when you block it, you're blocking your own magnetism. You're blocking clients, like for real. You're blocking clients because they can feel when you're stopping yourself from doing something. And so we've been taught this like poised way that we need to be. And I suppose there are some rooms that still need you to be that way, but I don't want to be in those rooms. Get me out of those rooms. I don't want to be there. And if you're like interested in fucking around and getting paid, you probably also don't want to be there. So let yourself start being yourself, and then you become magnetic to clients. People want to come work with you. And then O stands for make the damn offer. Just take the actions that you know that you need to take every day and do it with joy. Ask yourself how it can be more fun. So that's how and you can tell me, Erin, if that feels practical and tactical enough, but these are the things because it's like, it's the joy block at every turn. It's the like, I want to like flip my arms in the air after I do a thing. Like watch football players. They're like, oh, after they make a play. Like if that's you and after you do a cool thing, there's like something that you want to do, let your body do it. We just hold ourselves and we hold our energy so stuck and it keeps us from being our full selves. And people feel that. We feel when somebody's being truthful and when somebody's lying. And I'm just telling you, like we're lying all day long by not being our full selves. And those lies are felt, whether you're saying something out loud or not, people can feel it and they can feel when you're being honest. And honesty is so rare.
It's interesting that you say this because this podcast, I used to say, was an expensive passion project or a hobby or I don't know what, but it was just something I was doing for fun. And I genuinely love meeting people because this conversation is so energizing for me. It's so fun for me. I feel more lit up than before we started, which is going to carry that frequency will carry into whatever interaction I have next, whether it's conversation with my husband or a phone call that I feel inspired to make. And this is what's key here, right? Is that when we feel inspired to do something and we remove an attachment for what we're going to get from this thing, right? That whether it's the call you're going to make or the post you're going to create or the podcast you're going to put out, whatever, right? If you can actually have so much fun with it, the unexpected byproduct of what I thought was this expensive passion project was I could look back from when it started in 2018 to when I retired my license from the mortgage business almost 5 years later to my business having tripled in that journey. And all I was doing was having so much fun. And I thought I was wasting my time. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like the messed up part about it is I had no agenda for this. I had no agenda other than I'm so damn curious to meet people that have found a way to explore and pursue fulfillment and abundance, not one at the expense of the other, right? I know a lot of people that make a lot of money and behind closed doors, they're in tears because they are just crumbling under the weight of what they've created, or they're in tears because it's so inconsistent that they live in a constant state of perpetual uncertainty, right? And it's like, well, if someone out there like you has been on a mission to find your joy and it's resulted into door after door after door opening and all these unforeseen opportunities finding you seemingly out of the blue, then it's like, how can we not be curious about this and get more people sharing those stories? It's so fun. But anyway, it became an unexpected byproduct, right? With some other opportunities grew from it. And so even when it comes down to like the things we think we have to do to again solve the problem, like you can hear my light just going off in that
Yes. The word
immediately.
half just like
Ugh.
everything crunches up.
So what I find is like in my morning routine, I might do breath work, I might do meditation, I always do journaling, but I'll just sort of ask the universe, like where do I need to go today? Show me the way. Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to be? All the things. Literally, people will pop into my mind, or they'll pop into my mind, and then I'll open up an app, and then they'll be like the first person on my stories is that person, and I'll just call them immediately. Like I call them because I'm like, you popped into my mind and then into my feed. I think the universe is telling me it's time for us to reconnect and have a conversation and catch up. But with no agenda attached to it, just because it feels good and it feels light and it feels like I'm being shown the way. And it's like, it sounds so ridiculous, but I have way more conversations as a result of this approach than I do from the way I used to do it, which was to force myself into action to be a band aid to my emotion, which was scarcity and lack and insecurity. It's like just, yeah, two different ways to the same destination, which hopefully is abundance and expansion for all. And it's so great to hear another person articulate the strategy behind it because, like, it is the strategy. Joy is the compass. Let it be the guide, and how it actually becomes the pathway to everything that we've ever dreamed of and more and more and more and more, right?
It's true because your brain, all that your brain it does and what is it's intended to do, it is a prediction machine. It based on past experiences, it predicts what it expects to happen in the future. And so if you live your entire life based on with a future that is based on past experiences, where's the expansion in that? Where's the room for awe? Where's the room for wonder? Where's the room for possibility, for limitless, boundless, amazing, magical things to happen? There's no room in that thought loop. So we have to go outside of that. And we go
Mm.
outside of that through practices like meditation. I'm a huge fan of meditation. I'm a breath worker, so I support people in breath work. So if you're new on the journey, let yourself go heal and feel. Like, let yourself go experience all of these things. Try meditation, try breath work, go to sound bowls. Like, let yourself try these things that are helping you to access some new way of being. Be curious with what else is out there that is outside of the known, which is outside of your thought loop that you've had. Like, we have proven what that's created for you. So we've got that proof. This is the reality that that has created. Well, why not try some new things? Why not step outside of that box? Why not do Erin's practice, which is one that I teach in Make the Damn Offer, with the offer part is to ask, show me who would be amazing to be part of this offer. Show me who would be an
Mm.
amazing person. Show me who might need me right now. Like, show me those people, and then go send them a message and say, "Hey, I was totally thinking of you this morning, and I just want to say hello and that I love you, or that I care about you, or that I was thinking of you," and whatever words are appropriate for the scenario. And if you have an offer that's active, say, "I have this offer and it's available right now, and this morning I was praying, or I was in meditation this morning, and I said, show me the people who would be amazing. And you popped into my mind. So I just wanted to offer it to you and just say, if you'd like to come, I'd love to have you there." And I've had so many of my coaching clients who have had the most amazing, like, sold out their retreats from asking that simple question, from sending those texts and putting it out there. So that's a real genuine strategy that is outside of your brain loop. Your brain's going to say, you got to get up, you got to send the email, you got to do this. That's all it can tell you because it's the only experience it has. But then once you've done your process of asking who would be somebody, they come to mind, well, now your brain has that as a past experience. When you have a
Mm.
success, that's that ping. Now the brain is like, ooh, now I have this strategy. And now, based on past experience, it's got a new strategy. So that's how you get into the joy loop. That's how you get into something that's outside of what you've known and make it now known. Now the brain's like, oh, cool. That worked. Let's do it again.
I love that so much. Well, we could go on for hours, Jen, I'm sure. And I want to respect your time. So, if folks want to find you or follow you or learn about your coaching programs, the podcast, all the things, can you go ahead and share? We'll make sure everything's in the show notes as well.
Yeah, you can follow the Fuck Around and Get Paid podcast. You can also go to jenliss.com/quiz if you want to take my quiz. It's a beautiful way to see how you can make more money living your purpose. And it's really fun. It's like a adventure quiz. So if you want to go do that, that's a beautiful way to get connected too.
I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom and your story. It's been really, really great.
Thanks for having me on.
And so, all my friends out there, if you found value in this conversation, do me a favor and follow Jennifer on Instagram, send her a DM, let her know you had a takeaway, because from podcaster to podcaster, we have these conversations and put them out into the ether in the hopes that it improves a life one day at a time. And so we love hearing from you. Shoot me a DM if there's content you want to hear more of on the show. I always love hearing from you and connecting with you in real life and not just as internet friends. So please reach out to me. I love you. I appreciate you. And we'll see you next time.